This October, Blue Apron is celebrating its 5th anniversary by bringing back its top 20 recipes from throughout the past 5 years, as picked by you, the Blue Apron community. Your favorite Blue Apron recipes are back on the menu for a limited time only. Blue Apron is all about giving people fresh recipes to explore as they learn to cook new dish after new dish, which is why they don't repeat recipes within one calendar year. This is what makes this limited time offer so exciting. Try out Blue Apron's all-time customer favorites by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first meal with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so do not wait. That's blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. Subscribe now by going to the Listen tab in the ESPN app.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike, Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. here with you. If you're watching on TV, we have moved over to the side set because we want to be a little more casual. You like that?
Well, listen, this show is casual.
Yes. And our show will be casual.
Friday, we're
Yes.
like casual.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
We're just casual.
I wore my casual pants.
Yeah,
These
well,
are casual.
I don't think you own anything that isn't casual.
No, yeah,
by
these
the
are
way.
my red sex pants. They're nice.
Okay, I don't need to know anything about
It's
you.
not like actual. They just they exude that kind of aura.
Sure they
Put
do.
you on this show.
They're kind of.
That's your fault. I want you to know that. This is.
I had nothing to do with it.
In every way, this is your fault.
They told me.
In every way, this is your fault.
I don't know if either of you guys have ever seen Parks and Rec, but Ron Swanson's red polo is kind of the equivalent of my red pants. So read into that how you will.
They don't even look red. They look brown.
No, they're like a maroon.
It's like these
maroon.
These chairs that are orange, but
Yes.
Greeny thinks they're red.
No, they're orange.
That's what I thought as well.
So glad we're getting all the
there you
difficult
go.
things out of
Okay.
there. Glad you're with us. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Don't forget to hit us up on the Twitter feed, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. By the way, we have that poll going. I'm surprised, by the way, that we haven't got more love for April.
Yeah.
The poll is
set it
the
up. Go ahead.
best sports month because today is the only day we're guaranteed in 2017 to have the 4 major sports all active in professional sports on the same day with Game 5, multiple NBA and NHL games, and then, of course, you have the start of Week 7, the AFC West showdown, the Raiders hosting Kansas City. And so a lot of people think October might be the best month because of the playoffs and college football and all that kind of stuff. I put forth that my favorite month is always April because you have the NCAA championship game. You have the start of Major League Baseball. You have playoffs in the NBA and the NHL. You have the Masters, which is the first major of the year in golf. And, of course, you have the NFL Draft, which is the greatest circus of all time.
So there's that, and there's depth, and there's the headliners, which you brought up, Mike, in March, right? Where, to me, the start of the NCAA tournament, because I'm kind of with you, those first 2 weekends, Thursday to Sunday, the following Thursday to Sunday in March, are fantastic. When so many millions of people are involved because of their sheets of integrity.
Yes.
But not everybody does it just because of the major sports. How about this from John? So make sure at Mike and Mike, at Wingo's,
at ESPN Golic,
and at ESPN Golic. What's yours again? You got it.
Golic Jr. 57 543-7386Q.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, everyone can keep hating. All right, the brand is strong right now. Leave it alone.
All right. John says this. Isn't that what it's about now? We're branding. John's tweet: June, U.S. Open.
Yeah.
2 major sport finals, French Open finals, start of Wimbledon, men's and women's World Cup, Triple Crown, Euro Cup.
Yeah, but the Men's and Women's World Cup isn't every year, though. I mean, like,
No,
in the
right.
years that happens,
we
that's
don't
great.
have to worry about the World Cup anymore.
Well,
whoa.
Well, we do, I mean, as a country, yeah, we don't.
If you like the sport, you can still
Absolutely.
watch it.
Oh, I'm still going to watch the World Cup, but I'm just mean like we as like
Why
a
you got to
collective
bring us
nation.
down?
You know
Why
what
you
we
got to
won't
bring us down?
You know what we won't be chanting?
Yeah.
USA. Sorry.
You won't see us. That's what we'll be chanting.
We can chant SEC with like the Kentucky fans and the Vanderbilt fans, the people that have to parrot things when they don't have any of their actual own things.
There
to
you go.
celebrate.
So
So John went for depth then.
Yeah, but those are things. But that can't be your favorite month.
No. It's not mine. It would be. I'm still kind of deciding between October and April. April, I do love the Masters. I love, obviously, the championship game in the NCAA tournament, playoffs in NBA and hockey. But my favorite sport is not going on outside of the draft, which is fantastic reality TV. I get it, but there's no on-field play. So that's what's holding me from really committing just yet.
I get that. Well, you don't have to be committed.
I have commitment issues.
I was about to say, I think we all
I've been married 30 years, and you know what? We're still working through it. See if it's going to fly.
Well, here's hoping this thing lasts.
You don't have to stay together for the kids anymore. We're good. We'll go with Mom.
See, there it is.
Again.
Under the bus.
Seriously?
I just don't want you to feel compelled to do anything on my behalf. I'm just telling you, genuinely, it's cool. We're going to side with her no matter what.
If it makes you feel better, I'm not doing anything on your behalf. So maybe he should be doing something
on
your behalf. All right, listen, again, we'll get through that throughout the show. Hit us on the Flowers.com Twitter feed, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. But also, we had two really amazing baseball
Yes, we did.
last night. And I don't – This was never going to be the year where the Yankees were supposed to be one win away from the World Series, right? I mean, just go back to Game 2 of the ALDS in Cleveland, where the Yankees blew a 5-run lead.
Right.
When in one part in the 6th inning, Joe Girardi, the Yankees manager, took out CeCe Sabathia after 77 pitches when he was dealing, and then he doesn't have the video replay of whether or not the ball hit off the end of the bat,
right?
And then that bat extends and he hits a grand slam. Or the next player hit it.
Right,
Lindor hit the grand slam, and everyone was like, "This is it, Joe Girardi. Is he not coming back?"
How many days? Do you know, Mike? How many days ago we were talking?
10?
About
it was about 10, right?
I asked Mike and you answered.
Sorry.
This is how it's all going to work?
This is it. Yeah.
You're the one guy on this set whose name isn't Mike.
Well, actually, see, you don't know this. To make everything easier for everybody, I'm going to legally change my name.
I would hope so.
To Mike, and Mike.
Holy smokes. So it's 10 days. He gave you the answer.
It's 10, Mike.
It really is amazing. I mean, from sitting there and watching his counterpart in the AL East and John Farrell get shown the door there with the resume that he had, you had to figure Joe Girardi was already kind of looking at real estate in other places and kind of seeing what he was going to figure out. And instead, right now, I mean, there's no way you can fire the guy now, can you? I mean, I guess I take that back. The Red Sox still found a way to fire John Farrell after back-to-back AL East titles and a World Series and all those things.
And it could be a choice by Girardi. His deal's up, so they could either not renew him, offer him a low ball him, so meaning, hey, we don't really want you back. Or Joe could decide, as Buster Olney had mentioned, that maybe Joe wouldn't want to come back to this. But we'll see, because they're still playing. They're one game away from the World Series.
Well, the interesting thing there is, I mean, all these young guys, we've talked about it, these young guys that have come up through the Yankee farm system, they all know Joe. I mean, this is who they've sort of grown up with. So the idea now that you would pull the plug on that would make no sense, although that's what happened with the Yankees in '95 when they lost to the Mariners in the postseason, and Buck Showalter got fired. In came Joe Torre, who was supposed to be just a recycled manager, and lo and behold, he started on one of the greatest dynastic runs, the greatest dynasty in sports has ever seen with the Yankees.
I'm looking forward to the turn in all this, because, correct me if I'm wrong, this feels like a more likable Yankee team than we're used to, right? And maybe it's just because it
as a Yankee fan, I don't see that, but sure.
Maybe just because it doesn't have A-Rod on it. I think the general public, they see the young Yankees, you got the Judges Chamber and all this stuff. It's fun right now. This is like pre-MVP young Steph Curry, where everyone's cool and LeBron's dapping him up at the All-Star game. Everyone likes it. And then all of a sudden, these guys are going to get good, and God forbid they add Bryce Harper. People are going to go back to hating these guys real quick, and it's going to get super uncomfortable when this team that we're kind of I feel like people are weirdly okay watching this Yankees team succeed right now in a way that we wouldn't have exactly been for the evil empire before this.
Got a great Hembo stat here. First, the threesome of Judge, Sanchez, Gregorius, what they're doing has been incredible with the bats. And again, last night against Dallas Keuchel, who had owned the Yankees. But if the Yankees do get one more win, and we all think, even though the Cubs won last night 3-2, Javier Baez hits a couple of home runs, so they're down 3-1 in this series. But it's still, everybody believes the Dodgers, they have Kershaw on the mound tonight, are going to move on.
He's been suspect again in
He has,
postseason.
but I mean, nobody thinks, at least not really many people think the Cubs are going to come back down 0-3.
Well, it's only happened once. Yeah, you're right.
So and if the Yankees can get one more win there in the World Series, the Dodgers look like they're going there. This will be the first time, and the Yankees have been in the World Series, 300 or 400 times?
6,482.
Yeah.
They're going for their 41st.
This will be the great Hembo stat. This will be the first time since 1976 the Yankees, if this matchup is in the World Series, will be in the World Series and have a smaller payroll than the team that they're playing.
That's amazing.
How about that?
Yeah.
And Steinbrenner brought the team, what did you say, 73?
Correct.
73. So how about that? The Dodgers with the bigger payroll. First time since 76 that the Yankees would have less payroll.
And
if it happens, if it
happens, and if it happens, certain network executives will be salivating with the idea of a Yankees Dodgers.
Well,
West
you just
Coast,
think of the
East Coast.
Kershaw-Judge matchup. Everybody's starting to highlight these things.
Which, by the way, is not to take away anything from the Cubs. I think the Cubs would be a huge draw as well. But if you can pull East Coast, West Coast from a television perspective, that's pretty much what you're looking for.
Cubs been there, done that, right?
Well, that's that's
the Cubs.
Old
We're
news.
so past the Cubs.
It is kind of amazing how quick that's happened, though, to where we're comfortable. We're kind of like we don't need the Cubs to win all this again. If you're looking for a great following act to last season's awesome postseason, where we saw a great ratings for Major League Baseball, a great postseason matchup, that whole storyline, this is a hell of a second act.
Yeah,
it certainly is, and we'll see if that plays out again. Cubs and Dodgers play Game 5 today at Wrigley. And a reminder, Mike and Mike is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com. And we'll see what happens as we go forward there. We'll also see what happens as we go forward, guys, with the saga of Rick Pitino.
Yes.
Rick Pitino, of course, fired at Louisville amid the Sting investigation by the FBI with allegations of payments of $100,000 through a shoe company to some of his recruits. He was fired with cause by Louisville. He is now fighting them in court, and he's also suing Adidas
right.
Now for this. Now, Rick, outside of saying, hey, you guys shouldn't be here on the day he was relieved of his duties before he was officially fired, has not said much. He recently sat down with our Jay Billis to talk about his position on this, the scandal that he finds himself involved with, and here is some of that conversation Rick Pitino had with our Jay Billis.
The federal government is alleging that a Louisville assistant requested a payment from an Adidas representative to provide to a Louisville recruit. Was alleged to be $100,000. Did you know anything about that?
No. One of the toughest things you have to do, and I hope you never do it, is take a lie detector test. You have a blood pressure machine, you're wired up, and we're here for, did you have any knowledge of the Bowen family getting any money? Did you have any knowledge of an Adidas transaction? And I answered absolutely not on both questions and passed the lie detector test.
What kind of access did Jim Gatto or anyone from Adidas have to the basketball program by virtue of the contract?
Very little. They had very little, and I don't think they wanted access. A week before this broke, they were doing a whole testing area. They took a whole gymnasium and they were testing the shoes and using our players and showing it how it works. That was the first real interaction we've ever had with Adidas in terms of getting involved with their brand.
Why did you decide to file suit against Adidas now?
Well, they terminated me without a phone call, and that's not the reason. It's not revenge for that. I felt they're largely responsible for what has gone on, and they took my love and my passion away from me. Not all of them. There were other reasons, one being one of my coaches. They are responsible for their actions. As I take ownership for 2 hires, they must take ownership for what they did.
Do you feel comfortable that you will be clear of any charge coming your way in the future?
1,000%.
What was the most emotional time in this to date?
Speaking to the players.
Do you believe you will coach again?
I don't know. I'm not sure I want to. Don't know.
Why do you say you're not sure you want to?
Who knows what, I'm just trying to concentrate on today, and I'm really not concerned about the future.
All right, great job by Jay getting the interview.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting things to dissect there.
And there's that was a couple of minutes. It was a 7-minute interview, and a few times in there, Rick Pitino, when it seemed like he didn't really want to answer when he was asked kind of a direct question, his answer was, I only answer to one person, and that's God. He brought that up a few times.
Technically, God, not a person?
Yeah. I mean, so that seemed like a way around some question. Listen, the bottom line of all of this, guys, is...
Do you believe him?
Do you believe him? Do you believe him, Trey?
I don't know. He's made it difficult. He seemed very... Let me put it this way. He said with conviction the things you would want an innocent person to say. He said it fairly straightforwardly, I think. But it's hard. This thing is going to be. And by the way, we're focusing on Louisville and Rick Pitino now because that's the biggest name that's come out. I don't think we're anywhere near.
I agree. And will it even bleed over into football as well?
So I mean, this story, whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of it. You have a wry smile on your face over there, Junior.
Because I want to try and listen to what he says and not pay attention to like the bloated caricature of a disgraced college head coach that Rick Pitino's become. I said this morning, he's kind of like if the movie The Program became a person, because it's all of these like cartoonish examples of the things that go wrong with college basketball. Like, you want to talk about God asking Rick Pitino the hard questions? God would be looking at Rick Pitino right now like, this is the easiest question I've had to ask you in a while. Like, compared to the rest of the stuff, this is sort of small potatoes. Like, yeah, the money went to the kids in this one. Crazy, like the escorts and some of the personal stuff. Like, Rick, we've asked tougher questions before. You can take your foot off that pin underneath your big toe for the lie detector test. We've gotten through it. Like, the answer we didn't get at the beginning was great because Rick Pitino goes, I walked into the lie detector test and I told them, ask me if I've ever taken, anything or given it out to players my whole time there. They're like, Rick, this isn't, what we're here for. This isn't what we're going to do. And I imagine Rick, like, pulling them aside after that, like, no, guys, those are the questions I prepared for this. Like, I've been rehearsing the answers for a while. I feel good about this. You guys, by the way, have the lie detector expert coming up on the show in Stugotz in a little bit. Right? Like, if you want to talk to someone about how to beat the lie detector, just ask him.
Well, or George Costanza. Well, remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
There you go.
And we're not saying that he's lying.
Well, no, we're not.
We can't say that.
Listen, this is all about, and we'll see.
I'm not saying I believe it.
We'll see.
That's fair.
That's fair. I just said if we can get Jay for maybe a couple of minutes, because when this was all going on, we talked to so many people, I, for the life of me, can't remember where Jay was on this, about the escorts in the dorm and stuff, if he believed Rick didn't know, if he believes Rick doesn't know, because that's what a lot of this comes down to. Now, the rule has been changed to where that doesn't work anymore. You can't just say, didn't know. Yeah. You're the head coach. You are responsible
it stops with you.
For this. But the bottom line comes down is we always say, does the coach know 100% of everything that's going on? It's ridiculous to think you know 100% of everything that's going on. But most coaches, and we go through it from the football side of it, know that, and from the basketball side, where they're dealing with a fraction of the players, that the coach has their thumb on the heartbeat of that team. Now, there are some things I'm sure they don't know or don't want to know, plausible deniability of go handle this, but are they the architect of it all? Yeah. But as Rick said, he admitted guilt to 2 bad hires. That's what he admitted guilt for.
And that's the thing that makes me not want to believe a lot of this is you're asked to go up there. You have a chance to go up there and actually admit responsibility. And maybe legally he can't admit responsibility for certain things and all this. Maybe there's some of that minutia that gets lost in this with me.
I'm sure a
lot.
But
when you stand up there and say, I admit responsibility for 2 bad hires instead of, you know what, this is a situation that I needed to have more control of and I didn't. And again, maybe that's part of him trying to get that $44 million, which, get it how you live if that's the case.
Well, that's a great point because there is a great discrepancy right now between what Rick Pitino believes he's owed from Louisville and what Louisville believes they owe Rick Pitino. And that's an underlying principle here. But the fundamental question, I think, for everybody with Rick Pitino specifically is, do you believe that he had no knowledge of everything that was going on? Because everyone that knows Rick, and Jay Billis alluded to this at another part in the interview, how meticulous he is, how fastidious he is, how he makes sure everything is handled to a certain degree and making sure he's sort of got his fingers everywhere on that program. The question then becomes, if that's your reputation, and Jay alluded to this in the interview. At one point he said, because that's your reputation, do you believe that is hurting you in the court of public opinion? And I think that's the issue, right? Can someone who is so hands-on, for lack of a better term, and make sure he's sort of lording over every aspect of the program, not be aware of this? I think that's possible. I don't know if it's true, but I certainly understand how it could be possible.
I don't buy it here. I don't believe he was making up the itinerary for everything in the last couple of cases, but to think that he had zero knowledge of the overall situation of some of the things that were going on, I find hard to believe for a guy that's been in it this long, that has the reputation that he has of of control of things. So, again, do I agree, 100% of everything of all time? No. But we're not talking about a couple of jaywalking tickets here,
right.
Okay? We're talking about
these are big ones.
Escorts in a dorm room. We're talking about payoffs to kids, FBI being involved. So I have a hard time believing that he wasn't, ancillarily aware of some of the things going on in this.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many times does it have to come up before we look at these statements kind of sideways, where it's something like this, and to your point, big somethings, in a spot where, especially in recruiting, like you look at coaches, they rightly pay hyper attention to recruiting because that's your lifeblood. Like, you don't get, like, everyone gets paid. We talk about it all the time in college athletics. The system works because you've got the labor that works in the system. You win with good players. The coaches are important. They're the ones that stay there, but those guys will be the first to tell you they're only going to go so far as the recruits that they can bring in there. And so you damn right pay attention to make sure you're bringing the best recruits and that you're doing everything you can to appeal to these kids. So all of a sudden you're going to tell me now that he's allowing someone else to play fast and loose with the toys that are going to end up coming and being in his sandbox when he's the guy overall there, because at the end of the day, if he doesn't pay attention, he has to answer for the product that goes out on the basketball court. And if he's not paying attention here, why shouldn't he have to answer for the product that's going to work on his campus?
So quick question to both of you, and I don't know where it's going. Certainly the legal side of it, is going to get really interesting. There's the NCAA side of it, and, that. So this is from a pure coaching standpoint. If there's no, show cause and he doesn't have to miss, say he's eligible to coach. Let me just put it that way. With all that's gone on, would you hire him if you're a college as your coach?
Well, look, that's the tough one, and he alluded to it. He's not sure. He said he even wants to coach again.
But if he does, if he actively is searching to coach again, and you're running a program, you're the AD at a good school.
Define good school.
Well, I'm a bigger type of
FAU.
School.
Yeah. Okay. Here's
and Lane Kiffin. That's an athletic department.
Here's the well, that would certainly be an interesting athletic department. Here's the deal. You have to say to you, I don't know how old is Rick?
65.
He's 65.
I think.
So how many more years?
Could be wrong.
How many more years do you want to invest in this? Right. I mean, that's if you're looking for a quick fix, maybe you do it. The problem with Pitino is this is not the first time.
Well, yeah.
And it's the same thing with John Calipari. No matter what, there will always be that red mark that, he's the only guy that's had 2 Final Four teams vacated. Right. Either that you can say he's very unlucky that happened twice, or there may be something else there.
You hiring him?
Listen, if I'm would I personally? Probably not. Would someone? Hell yeah. I mean, listen, there's enough going on in college athletics that people are content to look the other way on. If you've got a guy in your program that thinks, hey, this could get it going for us, this could get us some notoriety or a little bit of infamy, something tells me they'll take a little bit of the bad with some of the good that they know comes with this guy.
Look, at the end of the day, we've seen this happen time and time again. Oh, that guy will never get hired again. And they usually get hired. They usually. So if you're going with would you hire him? I'm saying yes, because history tells you more than likely it will happen.
Especially for this being the last one, because, again, relative to the other things we've talked about here, if you were going to say this coming off of the escort thing where you're doing actual probable harm to the parties involved in this, down the road, that's great. With this one here and the pay for players, you're going to tell me that that's the one that's going to set me over the line if this isn't the guy I want? No, if anything, I'm looking at that one and going, all right, tell me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know more about this, because relative to that one, morally, at least I can justify this one a little bit more. Logically, it makes a little more sense to me than the rest of it.
We'll see. Yeah, why don't you go suck up to mom a little more now?
We'll see what happens going forward. Yeah, you go do that. Junior, thanks for being with us. Don't forget, we're presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We'll deal with the Golic family issues a little later, maybe on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive. Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, we roll on here. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including Major League Baseball Network's Al Leiter, joining us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. And as we said, Al Leiter is now with us on Mike and Mike, and you can watch Al on Major League Baseball Network's MLB Tonight, which will air live before and after every World Series game. Al, thanks for being with us. And what a turnaround for the New York Yankees against Dallas Keuchel, who had just been unbeatable against the Yankees in his career. They got to him early, and then they went through that bullpen of Houston pretty quickly last night.
Yes. Good morning, Trey. Good morning, Mike. I think it really comes down to the uber level of scouting. I think when you see a guy, and I've always thought this, in enough at-bats and enough plate appearances, there's only so many areas you can go. And as dominant as Dallas Keuchel was in his first start against the Yankees, you go back to video, you look at his sequence. And I think what Dallas did so well in Houston was that he really exploited the Yankee hitters to expand the zone. And that's ultimately what every pitcher tries to do, get a strike in the zone, as Dallas did in his start in Houston, and then fed off the aggressiveness of hitters, as actually what we saw with Tanaka last night.
Well, and let's go to Tanaka because, listen, we talk the Astros, you talk about Keuchel and Verlander, justifiably so, and certainly with the Yankees, that name CC Sabathia and what that means in that name. But Masahiro Tanaka, this is a great stat. Third Yankee pitcher with multiple outings of 7 scoreless innings in the same postseason. He joins a couple of guys you might have heard of, Roger Clemens and Whitey Ford. I mean, so
never heard of those
and
guys.
This is a guy with some arm issues early on. You weren't sure what direction that was going to go. Why is it hitting so well for him right now?
You know what, Mike? I hate to use this word, but I think certain guys relish the moment. And truthfully, Tanaka this year, I mean, he had an up and down season. His ERA was mid-4s. Actually, down the stretch, his ERA was 5 in September. He did have his great last start against Toronto where he struck out 15. I would say this, and I really think a guy like Masahiro Tanaka or any pitcher that has the ability to really slow his pace down and realize what you're trying to accomplish, I think what Tanaka has done, and other Yankee pitchers, CC included, is to feed off younger hitters' aggressiveness to swing at pitches out of the zone. This is a very good team. Metrics-wise, the Houston Astros were the best offense in baseball. But when you have a guy, Tanaka I thought was exceptional. If you watch the game and all the pitches as I did last night, he barely ever missed thigh high and up. He's got his two-seam action fastball that occasionally hits 94, 95. It's really not overpowering in today's world. And he's got the great split finger and a slider. And his split, they knew what was coming, but it was that unbelievable late action. And, watching a lot of the Astro hitters just swinging over, what ultimately were pitches that are either shin high or in the dirt.
Boy, you're not kidding.
And he's stepping up. I don't know. I think Trey, he's a guy that has absolutely stepped up. How do you explain an ERA in 3 starts? As you just said, Mike, an ERA under 1, and you mentioned Roger Clemens and Whitey Ford.
Well, it's just crazy, and they made an emphasis of that on the broadcast last night. Everything was down, and they kept chasing him as they went away out of the zone. So that was a lot of fun to watch, to see him. And you mentioned relishing the moment. When he got that strikeout, I think in the 5th inning, I've never seen him that
animated,
agitated or excited. That was fun to see. Conversely, now when you talked about the Astros not hitting, boy, it's fun to watch the development of Aaron Judge. And Hembo, our great researcher here, pointed this out. His last 3 hits in this series have been a double off a cutter, a double off a slider, and a homer off a curve. Talk about a guy who's made the adjustments that you were just alluding to. He has really found a way to – he's not just sitting dead red anymore. He is finding ways to hit pitches that were in the past, he'd be striking out on those.
Boy, is that so true, Trey. Listen, I think Aaron Judge is a special kid. He really is. I mean, this guy not only can hit the ball out of any park, including Yellowstone, he's a guy that actually was very patient. Well, I mean, you see how monstrous he is. He's a gentleman. He's a nice guy. He's respectful. I think, he's a guy that actually, is going to do a lot. And I think mostly, Trey, he's a guy that is patient enough to take his walks. Yes, will he strike out a ton at some, as he did down the stretch a bit? Yes. But I think what the Yankees have done, and really, I can't believe I'm saying this because it is the New York Yankees, but I really feel that their attitude and their mindset was, not that we don't have anything to lose, because any time you get this close, you just never know if you ever get this opportunity again. Look at this. I mean, the Dodgers on the brink of possibly going to their first World Series since Gibby was doing the fist pump to Eckersley in '88. So you never know. But this was a bit of a surprise, or at least acceleration, for the New York Yankees to be where they are. And, they took advantage of it. They did an unbelievable trade as Brian Cashman at the trade deadline, bringing in Sonny Gray. I think Todd Frazier's unbelievable for the room and team chemistry. Yes, dare I say it. And they're having fun. I mean, at the end of the season, we haven't seen in postseason, they did this makeshift little camera thing. So when you have players that are comfortable and they're happy and they're passing the baton, Aaron Judge just really, truly feels a part of it, even though he's an exceptional player and maybe win the MVP.
So on that, we're talking to Al Leiter again. MLB Network's MLB Tonight is going to air live before and after every World Series game. Now let's take people where 99.9% of us will never be, and that's on a Major League pitcher's mound. You're on the mound. How do you pitch to Aaron Judge? What are you throwing?
Oh, I'm teasing him with fastballs in off the plate for him to mentally think that I'm trying to come in hard. And as a lefty, it's a little different, Mike, because I cut guys in. So I probably would just use my strength. But as a right-hander, you got to go with the statistics of if you can get a strike and you have that depth breaking ball, preferably with some tilt to it, and you start outer half, outer third, and just let it do its thing. And, prior to the last couple games, and I really think it was the home run that he had, and I think it was Game 4 off of Will Harris. Harris came in relief. I'm pretty sure I'm getting my games confused. He came in relief of McCullers, yeah.
Right.
And he ended up going a slider way, and he went fastball, and then he tried to throw a cutter in. And Judge got him. And I just think, certain at-bats like that, when guys are struggling statistically, and Gary Sanchez was part of that. It's a mental thing for you to can't believe that this is where you are. I mean, you look again, not to go back to the Astro lineup, but Altuve is an exceptional hitter. Guy batted 350, 200-plus hits a year for 4 years in a row, batting titles. And, he kind of looks lost, truthfully. I mean, 0 for 4 last night, and I know Tanaka was great. Correa, and then the whole pressure, gulp, I got to be the guy to do it. And then you have guys that are good hitters end up swinging at pitches off the plate. So, to answer your question, I think Aaron Judge for me is make sure that the guy in front of him is not on base, or at least having nobody on base, and then just make him swing at a pitch that you think he'll ultimately want to be teased at. And that's been a right-handed breaking ball going down the way. I mean, listen, Verlander, they know what he's got. I mean, he dominated, complete game, 13 strikeouts. So Friday, that matchup of Severino and Verlander should be good. Should be good for the Astros, assuming that Verlander shows up again, and he has since he's been there.
Boy, he certainly showed up, like you said, with those 13 strikeouts in Game 2. Okay, that'll be Game 6 of the ALCS. We got Game 5 of the NLCS coming up tonight, Quintana against Kershaw. Look, Al, the Cubs have been unbelievable, 5-0 in their last 5 elimination games going back to last season, last postseason. They'll have to keep that going if they have any chance, because every game's an elimination game for now. Do you think they can get it done against Kershaw again?
Listen, I mean, it's Clayton Kershaw, and, anything obviously as good as he is. I know in his first game, they took him out after 5, a couple runs, gave up a home run to Almora. Listen, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's going to come down to Quintana doing his thing. It's a National League game. Their bats are cold as well. I mean, to see Rizzo and Bryant in the middle of their lineup not hitting. And ultimately last night, ironically enough, they sat Baez. Joe Madden did. He comes in and gets a couple home runs and, is the hero for the day, along with Contreras and certainly what Arrieta. If Arrieta didn't have the bum leg going down the stretch, he pitched better than a number 4 starter against Wood. So, yes, no doubt. You're going to see a great left-handed matchup in Quintana and Kershaw. And ultimately, it comes down to bullpens. And if it really is that and it's tight, I mean, bullpen edge goes to the Dodgers.
The best of Mike and Mike.
All right, we roll on here on a Thursday morning. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic here. It's Mike and Mike, sort of Golic and Wingo.
Or Golic and Wingo.
Sort of the same thing. We're moving on. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Again, we got Stugotz coming up. We got Adam Schefter coming up. Damien Woody's coming up. But before we get to that, you want to do a little over-under?
Let's do over and under.
It's brought to you by Cabbage, who created a simpler way for businesses to get flexible access to up to $100,000. That's Cabbage with a K, as in cash, as in cabbage.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's start with the over-under with the Celtics, with obviously the horrible loss of Gordon Hayward week one, game one. 538.com projects 37 wins for the Celtics after the Hayward injury. So Celtics over win total before the season was 53.5. So let's go 47.
47.
Over under.
I still think they're a good ball club.
Yeah.
You know, developing those young players as well. I'm going to go over that.
You think it's going to be closer to 50?
I still think they'll be one up there in the seeds. I don't think they're going to go nearly as far as they could have without Hayward, but
right. I'm
still going to go over on that, even though they are 0-2 right now.
But that means Kyrie Irving's got to be the guy.
Yes, he does.
And that's
he wanted to be the guy.
That's what he wanted.
The guy.
Be careful what you ask for.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to get it. So he's going to carry it. You know, just for differences, I'll say under.
Okay.
I mean, boy, I tell you what, 37 wins from 538. That is a massive departure.
Big cut from 53.5.
It has hurt them already. As you said, they're 0-2 as they lost to the Bucks and the Greek Freak on last night. Okay, over under 1.5. AFC South teams to make the playoffs.
Right now, the leaders are 3-3,
and there's three of them.
And there's three of them. I'm going to say under. I think there'll be one. I think you'll get your division winner. And I think I had picked Tennessee at the beginning of the year. Mariota, if he can stay healthy, they haven't been what I thought they would be early on. I'm not ready to bail on them just yet, but boy, the play of Deshaun Watson, the weapons he has on offense, Will Fuller back from the injury he had is just a man that just ends up in the end zone all the time. Obviously, you lost two studs with Merciless and Watt on the defensive side. So I still think it's one of those two teams, but just one. I'm going under. It's going to be one team.
I'm going to say over because nobody knows anything about the NFL right now. I mean, none of us know anything. There's not the Kansas City Chiefs, who are playing tonight, and we'll get into that a little bit later, are clearly at this point the best team in football. They were the last unbeaten team. They lost at home to a very tough Pittsburgh team. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Nobody knows anything this year in the NFL, so I'm going to say maybe we get two. Maybe it's Jacksonville and Houston, or maybe it's Tennessee and Jacksonville. We got three there.
That's a pinpoint answer out of you.
I'm going to say it's over.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's over. So there we
Can
go.
you name some teams that aren't in the AFC South, too? Wow.
No. Okay, because it's just an AFC South question.
This next question is
over under 0.5. More times the Browns switch their starting quarterback this season.
So not only is Deshaun Kaiser going to go back to starting, but the guy who started last week, Kevin Hogan, for benching
third.
Kaiser is now third.
And
Cody
apparently
Kessler,
there's some injury that may be a part of that, but still, it's
so Cody Kessler now is the backup. Deshaun Kaiser back to start. And quite honestly, I didn't know when it was going to happen, but they had to get Deshaun Kaiser back in because they have to find out if they don't need to finally draft a quarterback.
Again,
right?
Or pass on just look at all the quarterbacks they've passed on.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back to Ben Roethlisberger. You go back to last year and Carson Wentz. And this year they could have gotten Deshaun Watson. Instead, they went with Deshaun Kaiser.
They need to go into this offseason knowing we are drafting a quarterback or we feel we are set at quarterback. That said, 0.5, how do you not take the over?
Got to take the over.
How do you not take the over with what they've been going through?
History tells us they will take the over whether they want to or not.
Yeah.
I was surprised that they made the change away from Deshaun Kaiser because once Hugh Jackson, you roll with the rookie, you're rolling with him.
You know what?
You're running with him.
I don't mind taking a step back, 3 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, let him take a breath. Yeah. But as I had said, it shouldn't be for too long. You got to get him back in. You got to know what you have before you get to the offseason, and we'll start going through free agency and the draft and all that again.
And we may be going through this process again with Cleveland.
We may.
Rolling strong into hour number 3 on this Thursday morning. Glad you're with us. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic, Mike and Mike, or soon to be.
Golic and Wingo.
There you go.
I feel I need to explain the one part of that open there when you heard my son say there's only one guy in the set that's not named Mike, which would be you, Trey.
Correct.
And when Mike was on the show, which he will be, every day starting
6 to
November
10. 6 to 7, November 27th.
7-ish, however we're going to pull
There'll be a lot of ish.
Yeah, there certainly will.
There'll be a lot of ish.
I definitively, we were talking about Rick Pitino. It doesn't matter the subject matter. Yeah. I definitively turned to my son and I said, Mike, blah, 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 blah. What do you think of this? Asked a question, and you answered.
Yeah, I did.
I was like, What part of me turning to another human being,
I don't know,
saying their name, which isn't your name, asking a question would lead you to want to answer it?
I guess I'm just embracing my inner Mike. That's the way the show has gone for so long. With Mike Greenberg, Mike Golic, and it's going to be Mike Golic and Mike Golic Jr. I'm just preparing for the eventuality where management will come to me and say, hey, Trey, listen, the Golic and Wingo thing is going great.
Yeah.
We love it. We'd like to make a change. Just see if you're open to the idea. Because it's so comfortable for everybody. How about you change your name to Mike?
Yeah.
And then we'll just go to Mike and Mike again. And then everything will be fine.
They don't even have to ask. We can just start calling you that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Totally. By the way, they tried to change my name once before. Not here, but somewhere else. They wanted
really?
Yeah, it was in St. Louis. And we had my name is Trey Wingo, and we had a guy we had someone named Matushka Lindo, Lowell Deo, and a Victoria Babo.
Matushka?
Lindo was her name, yes. Lowell Deo and Victoria Babu.
And Trey Wingo.
And they were like, that's too many names that end in a vowel.
Yeah.
You want to change it? I'm like, no.
What, did they give you any examples of what they want to change it to?
They want to change it to Trey Winger.
I was just going to say.
Really?
Winger. Say is Winger.
Winger.
Hey, I'm Trey Winger.
Coming up live from the arena, it's Trey Winger.
Trey! And then it would have been, how would you say it? And not Trey Winger, Trey
Winger. Yeah, so what we did, we ran on the air and did a stand-up first, so I couldn't change my name. We were supposed to go on the air a day later. We just went on to do a story early, so can't change it now.
Played. Well, November 27th, though, when Indoors Golic and Wingo, I'm going to turn to you and say, so, Mike, what is it?
Or Winger. I'll be Mike Winger.
Mike Winger.
Mike Winger.
There
We're
you go.
do the whole thing. It'll be Mike Winger.
There you go.
Get ready. We're rebranding. You know what that is?
What?
That's Straight Talk.
There you go.
Straight Talk Wireless. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So there's a lot to get into today. Again, we got Stugotz coming up in just a little bit. Damian Woody will join us. Adam Schefter will join us. But I don't know if you saw this article that Jarrett Bell wrote in the USA Today. It was very interesting. Jacksonville Jags owner Shad Khan thinks he knows the real reason why President Trump is so obsessed with the NFL and how he does its business.
And we know the president's tweets a while ago. Yesterday.
He did it again yesterday.
I was going to say yesterday he had another one once after the Roger Goodell and some of the owners met with some of the players and the union, that there was no hard, fast rule about the anthem coming out. And the president tweeted that nothing came out of that, and the league is still disrespecting, the national anthem and the flag.
Exactly. And Shad Khan says about President Trump, this is a very personal issue with him, telling the USA Today. Remember, I'd forgotten about this. It shows you how quickly things move on.
True, because it's not too long ago, because the association with Donald Trump and football was USFL.
Correct.
Which,
he went up against the NFL and lost there.
Exactly. So you thought there was maybe some bad blood from there, but that was obviously decades ago.
Right.
But this is way more current.
Exactly. In 2014, he was one of the people that tried to buy the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
And it was a failed attempt. The NFL moved on and they went with the Pagula family, who, of course, owns the Buffalo Sabres up there. So Shad is sort of putting that together, that maybe it's a little personal for him. And that makes sense, doesn't it, on some level?
Listen, I don't know if we'll ever know, obviously, the truth of that, but to dismiss that out of hand would be somewhat crazy. I think. Donald Trump, he loves Twitter.
Yep.
We've seen the time. He's not the only one in the world, but he'll hold a grudge on somebody. Yep. He'll let you know if he doesn't like something or someone. I had forgotten about this. So
I had totally too.
Maybe there is something too where he has something against the NFL. If you want to go back and include the USFL, his couple of dealings with the NFL hadn't been great, and I mean literal dealings, of one in court and the other trying to buy a team and a failed attempt to buy a team. Maybe there is something to that. I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know, and I don't think Donald Trump would admit that.
Right.
I don't think the president's going to be tweeting anything out that, Mr.
that was it.
Right,
yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten about that. It's certainly a little bit of food for thought if there's anything that it has to do with it as well.
Yeah, again, just going back to the USFL thing, technically the USFL won their suit against the NFL.
There's winning and then there's winning.
Exactly, and in these kind of suits, the damages are trebled.
Right, tripled, so they end up being tripled.
Yeah, so
why don't they just say tripled? Why
because it's legalese. It sounds more important when you say trebled.
So which is great. So, oh my God, I got this winnings and they're tripled.
Yeah, it was $1.
They won $1.
They won $1, so they got $3.
They paid them right there.
Yeah, here you go, $3 straight cash.
Change for $5?
Straight cash, homies. Change for a $5. Listen, we want to just get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Here's your $3. I'll give you a $5. You give me $2 back.
Yeah, I only have $2 in cash. And we got any change?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So what? Yeah, that was in '83, and again, it was at that time businessman Trump whose idea was to go up against the NFL in the fall, and that didn't work out, and then he didn't get the team. So Shad Khan believes, the owner of the Jags, believe that's a big part of it. Okay, so that was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE network.
So let's give a quote to that. It said, as Shad Khan said, he's been elected president where maybe a great goal he had in life to own an NFL team is not very likely. So to make it even tougher or to hurt the league, he said this is very calculated. So he is taking full ownership of saying this is the reason that Donald Trump, our president, is tweeting things against the NFL.
Yeah, and that's what Shad Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguars has to say. Okay, I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's bring him in. Stugotz is here, and I can't wait to hear what Stugotz has to say. Stu, would you... Listen, you're our resident lie detector expert, right? Mm-hmm. So, Rick,
yes, I am proud of that. Yep, very proud of that.
As you should be. So,
Thank you, Winger.
Rick Pitino. That's Mike Winger to you. That's Mike Winger.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike Winger. They changed my name, Trey. They changed my name to Stugotz. It was John Wiener. I would have preferred John Winger, but they changed it to Stugotz. So,
I thought you changed it. Did they change it for you?
No, I didn't change. Well, ESPN didn't change it. Hank Goldberg changed it. My first big break in this business was the executive producer of the Hank Goldberg show back in like '99. And at the time, Hank was one of the biggest talk show hosts.
The Hammer, yeah.
The Hammer. And so he gave me the name Stugotz based off of Tony Soprano's
boat.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. Well done.
All right. So I thought that was you. I didn't know it was. That's cool. Okay, now Rick Pitino is doing the lie detector thing. Would you like to? And he said, he passed the lie detector test. Would you like to give him any advice, or do you have thoughts along the idea? Because this is your area of one of your many areas of expertise.
Well, listen, clearly he doesn't need my advice because I don't believe a word that he said, and he passed the lie detector test according to Rick Pitino. So I don't think he needs my advice. I have taken not one but two lie detector tests, and I'm certain a third and fourth and a fifth is scheduled on our show at some point. This is all I can say. I lied. Now, we have this guy, Joe Harper, who's been doing this forever, and he administered the lie detector test on me. And I can tell you, I lied during the lie detector test, and many of them got past the lie detector, got past Joe Harper. So it is possible, and all I'll say is this. You can go on to Google, you can YouTube how to beat a lie detector test, and there are several different ways to do it. I'm not saying I did it before mine. All right, that's exactly what I'm saying. I did it before mine. Yes, but there are several ways that Rick Pitino could have got, or someone could have done it for him and said, Rick, these are ways that you could pass the lie detector test, and I'm certain Rick had someone look into that for him. So.
Yeah, listen, my son brought up the tack in the shoe. I don't forget, was that Ocean's 11 or 12 that technique was used to be in pain when you answer the question and all that deal.
Well, that means so the establishing of the baseline is the hardest part of the lie detector test, right? So were you lying on the baseline test to thus make it even as when the other lies came out?
Yes, I was lying. So, yeah, we did the baseline test. We did that like an hour before we actually did the actual test. I was lying on the baseline test, and then I carried those lies over to the actual test. And some of them got through. Not all of them, but some of them got through. That's all. Like, Dan thinks I still like him. Let's just put it that way. He thinks I still like him.
So you did that. That was fun. We laughed. We had a good time. It's a great segment, a great bit. But this is kind of real here with Rick Pitino doing that, the FBI investigation. So we finally hear him talk. He sits down with Jay Billis, and outside of saying he only has to answer to one person, and that's God, and answering some of the questions of Jay, but also saying that he takes responsibility for one thing, basically, two bad hires. One having to do with the escorts in the dorm, and the other with the assistant coach in the Vegas hotel with Adidas. So. You heard his answers. You heard the interview. Did it change your mind at all of what you thought of Rick Pitino? And I know you don't believe him. And more importantly, do you think it changed other people's minds about him?
I don't think so, guys. I really don't. Like, one of the interesting things that he said in that interview with Jay, and I thought Jay did a tremendous job, not just getting the interview, but the questions that he asked during that interview, was that the reason he's suing Adidas is because they took his passion away from him. What passion? The passion of money? No, he sued Adidas because they're taking his money away from him. And you guys alluded to this before. We all know what a control freak Rick Pitino is. And he's such a control freak that he entrusted his passion, the passion of coaching, with so many different people who made so many bad mistakes along the way. At some point, it's got to be Rick Pitino's fault. I don't believe these are two bad hires. I just believe this is what goes on in college basketball, in college athletics, and college sports. And it's not just specific to Rick Pitino and the University of Louisville. I think this goes on all over college sports. And the real problem for me, guys, with all of this is the coaches are making so much money, and they want to latch on to that money and those contracts for as long as they can. And if they're not going to pay the players, and if they're not going to use the sneaker companies to get the players they want, and if they're not going to do certain things, then someone else will. It's just kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. If Rick Pitino doesn't do it, then someone else is going to do it. And so you're almost forced to do it if you're a college coach. And so, yeah, I listened to the entire interview, and I don't believe any of what Rick Pitino had to say. It can't be everyone else's fault. Okay, the escorts in the dorm, that was someone else's fault. This, someone else's fault. He made two bad hires. I don't buy it. He's a control freak. He knows everything that's going on. He knows before it's happening. He knows while it's happening. He knows certainly after the fact. And so I just don't trust Rick Pitino. I really don't trust coaches at the college level in general. It's not just Pitino. I shouldn't just make it specific to him. It's just coaches in general, because there is so much money attached to this, and they're going to do whatever they can to keep their contracts and keep their jobs.
Well, that's the bigger issue here going forward, and we'll see how this plays out, because this is not just a Louisville problem. Let's be clear.
Exactly right.
Correct.
Every coach, or not every, but a lot of them have to be very nervous about where the tentacles of this investigation with the government are going. Meanwhile, let's go back to baseball, Stugotz. The Yankees' tentacles have reached back and claimed 3 straight wins over the Astros, including finally getting the Dallas Keuchel. Now, they've been a completely different team on the road as opposed to at home. Do you think the Yankees can still swing the bats the way they did in those 3 games at Yankee Stadium when they have to go back to Houston, when they were essentially neutered for those first 2 games in Houston?
It's going to be interesting. I have to see them win a road game. They haven't done that yet here in the postseason. So that's going to be...
Well, they did it Game 5. They did it Game 5 of the ALDS.
Game 5. I was trying not to bring that up, Trey, because I was trying to be nice to Golic.
Appreciate that very much there, Stugotz.
Yeah. You got it. So I don't know. It's kind of like a hit or miss team, right? Now,
literally,
Judge has been great lately. And it hasn't just been home runs. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Yankees eventually, yes. I think they will win. I think they'll get to the World Series. Personally, I'd like to see that, because I'd like to, see a Dodger-Yankee World Series, which is where I think we're headed, and that kind of brings me back to my childhood and growing up, where it seemed to be the Yankees and Dodgers just about every year. I do find it interesting. Golic and Trey, because Trey, you're a big Yankee fan, right?
Yes.
Do you guys have I asked Tim Kirchin this last week. Do you guys have an issue with baseball in the fact that 162 games is certainly a big enough sample size to determine who the best team in Major League Baseball is? I think we would all agree after the regular season, we all thought it was the Indians. But baseball rarely gives you the best team as its champion. And Ray, I just called you Ray.
Trey, I'll answer to anything.
Ray Winger, I'll go back to 2003. When the Marlins beat the Yankees were a heavy favorite. Clearly the Yankees were a better team, but the Marlins won. Does it bother you guys, Golic, as an Indians fan, Trey, as a Yankee fan who lost to a Marlins team that at one point during that regular season was 10 games below 500 and made a manager change from Jeff Torborg to Jack McKeon? Does it bother you that the best team doesn't get rewarded with a championship in baseball seemingly every single year?
Well, as a Yankee fan, I'd have to be really spoiled to say, yeah, that really irked me when they won in 96, 98, 99, and 2000, and then again in 2009. Right. So, I mean, I get it, but it's weird. Like the two Twins World Series in 87 and 91 were the same way. They were never the best team that year. They just caught fire in each one of those postseasons with pitching. And that's what makes baseball so completely different. Yeah, it's the pitching.
And it also makes it completely different. You look at the other majors going into the postseason, baseball is more different than the other games. Yeah. You rely on different things. All of a sudden, you got starters coming out of the bullpen. It changes more than the other sports change. So, Stu, no, it doesn't bug me. Listen, in hockey, we get more 8 seeds that beat 1 seeds. I don't mind that. As long as I see good play, good hockey, good baseball, good football, I'm happy with it. I know you get a 5-game and now 7-game series, so the better team is supposed to win. But baseball definitely changes in the postseason, so I'm good with it. My son brought up a question. My son, Mike, who, again, you do weekend observations with Sundays, 7 to 9.
Seamless play.
I thought so. He said, and I wonder if you agree, that this is one of the more likable Yankee teams. I mean, you're conditioned to kind of hate some teams that because they're really good or they have a great history or something, or you don't like the people on that team. He said this is a more likable Yankee team. You agree with that?
I absolutely do, yeah, because it feels, you got a bunch of guys that came up through the Yankees organization. You got guys like Sanchez and Aaron Judge and guys like that. It's a bit of a younger team, and no one really expected this. It's not like they went out and spent, $250 million to piece this team together. Plus, A-Rod's not there. I heard Mike talking about this on my way in this morning. And, yes, so I absolutely agree. This is a more likable Yankee team. Listen, as a Met fan, I'm conditioned not to root for the Yankees, and I find myself rooting for this Yankee team. I like Joe Girardi. I like the young kids. I like the energy that they play with. I like Todd Frazier, the addition they made there at the deadline, who's made big contributions on and off the field for this team. So, yeah, I would say certainly this is a very likable Yankee team, unlike all the other teams that Trey had in the late 90s winning World Series where they were just spending more money than everyone else.
Well, that's the thing. If they go up against the Dodgers, it's so likely they'll have the lower payroll. The Yankees will have a lower payroll.
It will be
congratulations on that, Trey. You finally have the lower payroll than a team you're playing. Way to go.
Stu, how about this? If it is the Dodgers and the Yankees, it will be the first time since 1976 that the Yankees will be in a World Series with a lower payroll than the team they're playing. It's amazing.
It really is. It's amazing. And for that reason, I think that's why this team is likable, because you don't have that big payroll. The Dodgers are the team spending all the money. That's amazing. What year was that, Mike? That is incredible.
76. Yeah.
Wow.
And Steinbrenner bought the team in 73. And they'll be likable until they spend $400 million on Bryce Harper.
Yeah, then it won't be likable anymore.
That's the second they become unlikable again, is the second they spend that money on Bryce Harper. Yes, that is correct.
Let's move on to beef stew, shall we? Because this is really, this is why he's here. This is what he loves. All right, Stu, what do you got? More beef with the hit on Aaron Rodgers, or people saying quarterbacks need more protection?
Wow. I see Greeny's side of this. Golic, I know you get mad at him every time he brings it up. I mean, we do tune in every single week to see the quarterbacks play, but and Aaron Rodgers, certainly, the one thing you can rely on every single week. Two things you can rely on. Aaron Rodgers being great and Tom Brady being great every single week in the NFL. And you guys said earlier, we have no idea what we're talking about when it comes to the NFL. Mike said we just say it with conviction, so it sounds like we know,
It's not a lie if you believe it, Stu.
Well, and Trey, by the way, that's the key to the lie detector, man. Just say it with conviction and confidence, and occasionally you'll just squeeze one right through there, and they won't even notice that you're lying. So, listen, I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers play 16 games every year, but the reality is this is a very physical sport, and things are going to happen. So, no, I don't want to see more rules in place to keep the quarterbacks up, to keep them healthy. You can put all the rules in place that you want to. Occasionally, a guy's going to tackle Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket. He's going to land on his shoulder, and Aaron Rodgers is going to break his collarbone. That's the nature of the sport. It's unfortunate. They've done enough to protect the quarterbacks. I don't think they need to do any more. If they want to put more rules in for, somehow for teams to hurt Tom Brady, I'm okay with that. But other than that, no. The sport is fine just the way it is.
Look, I get it, and I hear what you're saying, but remember, after Brady went down in 2008 is when they made the Brady rule. You can't hit the quarterback low. I don't know if they're going to do it.
What else can they do? What else can they do?
They can't do anything.
Here's the way they can justify it. I'm not saying they will, but they'll have this discussion in the offseason, I guarantee it, looking at driving quarterbacks into the ground. They'll I don't know if it'll pass, but they will look into it. They will look into it, absolutely.
Actually, it's already illegal. That's what most people are saying about that play is you're not allowed to land your body weight on the quarterback anymore. So that's what people are saying was the issue with that one.
But, Mike, how does that work, Trey? How does that work? How are you going to regulate that? Like, what are you going to do? These guys are moving. There's such big guys moving at such a high rate of speed. Like, how is he supposed to pull up and not drive Aaron Rodgers into the ground? How is that even possible?
That's the issue. Because, look, Aaron Rodgers, how many times have you seen him pump fake or escape and move around? And if Barr had let up on that hit and Rodgers had done that, Barr would look absolutely foolish.
The tweets I got on it that I had to stop tweeting because I wanted to slam my head into a wall. It was just ridiculous.
But, Mike, you understand the overall point. You understand the point that Greeny's trying to make and that others are trying to make. It's that we love Aaron Rodgers. It's the Michael Jordan of this sport. We want to see him play 16 weeks every year.
I completely agree, but my God, I think we've run out of rules to protect the quarterback anymore. All right, one more. More beef with managers constantly changing pitchers in the playoffs or people always second-guessing those moves.
I'm tired of how the managers are doing this. Like, let's get back to some old-school baseball once in a while. I mean, last night, Yankees, you had Tanaka. God forbid. Wow, a pitcher went 7 innings. Congratulations. A starting pitcher went 7 innings, and then they went to the bullpen. I was blasting the Astros the other day because Lance McCullers, who's an up-and-down pitcher, And when he's on, he is on. He was on the other night. He gave up a home run to Aaron Judge. They pulled him right after that, and then the Astros ended up losing the game. We have pitchers for every single situation. If there's a guy on first, we put a lefty in. If there's a guy on first and second, we have a specialist for that. We have a specialist for every single situation from basically the fourth inning on. I heard someone say, one of our baseball guys say, that if both these pitchers, it was right before, I think, Game 3 of the Yankees-Astros series, if they make it to the fourth inning, that will be viewed as good starts for both pitchers. Are you kidding me? How about if you make it to the 7th, 8th, 9th inning? God forbid a complete game is thrown here. I just think it's ridiculous. All these managers trying to outmanage each other with all the bullpen arms that they're using these days. It's ridiculous. If your starter's going well, just let your starter stay in there and throw the ball like we did back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's just gotten too much. I understand it. I get it in certain instances, but it's become too much for me where you have a pitcher for every single situation from basically the fourth inning on. How about let your starter go 7, 8, 9 innings?
The best of Mike and Mike.
All right, we roll on. Golic and Winger coming to your way November 27th. Mike and Mike technically for now. It is time for the Straight Talk, and for that we bring in ESPN insider Adam Schefter joining us, giving the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Shefty, lots to get into here, including the start of Week 7 tonight with a very interesting matchup in the AFC West. Raiders hosting the Chiefs. But we were talking about it earlier this hour. Jarrett Bell of USA Today had an article in the paper where Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags, said he believes one of the reasons that why President Trump has gone after the NFL so hard about the anthem issue is that it's personal with Donald Trump because, remember, in 2014, he put together a bid to buy the Bills. The NFL did not go with that bid. They went with the Pagula family, who owns the Sabres, and they now own the Bills as well. And it also goes back to maybe, perhaps, the USFL in the early 80s when it was then businessman Donald Trump's idea to go up against the NFL in the fall. And technically, while they won their suit, the league basically disbanded when they were awarded $1, which was trebled to $3. What's your take on what you hear from Shad Khan there?
Shad Khan is not the only owner who feels that way.
Really?
I have had other owners say the exact same thing to me. So much so that I actually made calls to people in Washington to see, do you think that that's true? They did not believe it to be true, but I can tell you that there are other owners who believe that part of the reason that Trump has gone after the NFL as aggressively as he has is because of the very reason that you laid out there, Trey, is that he believes that Roger Goodell had a hand in preventing him from buying the Buffalo Bills back when they were for sale.
Right.
And because he has not been included in that ownership fraternity, he is now waging his own little vendetta against the NFL. Now, again, there are people in Washington who have denied that to me. I don't know what is real and what is not, but the important thing to note there is that there are owners
more than one
who believe that. More than one.
Yeah.
More than one, for sure.
Shad Khan, the quote from him, he said he's been elected president, or maybe a great goal he had in life to own an NFL team is not very likely. So to make it tougher or to hurt the league, this is all very calculated.
And he has hurt the league.
Yeah.
He has hurt the league. I mean, merchandise sales are down. TV ratings are down. Letters are
actually, the last
in.
couple of weeks, the ratings have ticked back up again. But you're right. Overall, they're
down over the last year or two. Where do you see that? You know, we keep hearing about the meetings that went on, what went on, and then there were different reports on what was accomplished, what was that had some concrete meaning to it. When there's going to be another one, what do you think will eventually come of those?
I think really the next thing is that there's going to be more discussions. I don't think they ever were going to pass a proposal during this meeting that said, in the football operations manual, the word should and should stand for the anthem is going to be changed now to must stand. That was never going to happen. This was really about...
Although that is the rule in the NBA. I mean, they
did make a rule. The players have all followed it, yes.
This was about, I think, as much as anything else, continued enlightenment for the NFL owners for seeing a world that they're not used to seeing. This was about Roger Goodell and Doug Baldwin, the Seahawks wide receiver, penning a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee. This was about the New York City Police Commissioner, Commissioner Kelly, coming in to address the owners yesterday for 30 minutes, and the owners thinking that those were incredibly interesting and insightful comments that he made. He talked to them about how they have changed their police practices in recent times, the way they should be thinking. And in speaking to some people who were in that room, they said it was easily the most powerful moment of these 2 days of meetings and something that will stay with them. And I just think it was just educating the owners and continuing the dialogue, which will continue next on October 31st with the next series of meetings.
Well, and that was the whole point of the protest, right? The whole point was
raise awareness.
To raise awareness, and now that awareness has been raised, as you said, with what Doug Baldwin and Commissioner Goodell were able to do to pen that letter, what Malcolm Jenkins has done to take the next step forward.
Hey, and by the way, when's the last time that we had a police commissioner coming to address the owners about societal issues? That, in and of itself, is a step in the right direction. And Herm Edwards was on NFL Live yesterday, and he talked about when he was a player, that players have to fight to wear beards.
Right.
I mean, think about where we are today compared to where Herm was as a player, and that is a sign of how far we've come and how far there still is to go.
Well, it's facial hair. I mean, the Yankees still have
that issue.
Their facial hair rule. But, I get it. And when we had Adam Silver on, the commissioner of the NBA, they talked about between they and the union how they've worked together in all 30 cities to have the community awareness and the activism going on. So if that's a goal for the NFL, I mean, take care of your yard first. If you can get something between the league and the union and the players in each of the cities where the teams are, I think it would be a good positive step. We'll see. Them talking, believe me, is a good positive step. Let's go on the field. Let's start with Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck comes back,
Who
starts
won't be starting, it
practicing,
doesn't look like.
all of a sudden is getting cortisone shots and gets shut down again. Where are we?
Well, listen, we are going into week 7, and he's going to have to be shut down for a couple of weeks here at a minimum. At what point do you just say, it's not worth bringing him back this year? I know that he wants to play and is determined to play, and I know they want him to play and are determined to have him play. But at some point, common sense and logic steps in, and you just say that he's so important that we're going to give him the entire year to get ready for 2018 and that season. The fact that there was a setback here has got to be discouraging to him and the Colts. It's a continuation of this ongoing process. And frankly, right now, they'll reassess this. But, I mean, the signs continue to just keep piling up on this guy to where you have to wonder if we're going to see him this year.
Well, you mentioned Herm, who is the greatest and a living legend. Herm has said this from day one. He had the exact same injury when he was the head coach of the Jets with his quarterback, Chad Pennington.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, guys, you can say whatever you want. It's a year. It's going to be a year before he's back to where he was. And this surgery happened in January.
Well, what's the rush now?
Yeah.
What is the rush?
There is no rush.
No, there's no rush.
There is no Dana, only Zool. Ghostbusters, sorry.
There you go.
But you're right. Look, and by the way, obviously Jacoby Brissett is not as good as Andrew Luck. We all get that.
He's played well.
But he's played very well, I think, for this
Great
team.
audition.
Yeah.
Great audition.
And he's going to have a longer audition. Yep. By the way, your audition's going to stay a little longer.
Yeah,
I'm always good for
You're going to stay with us for a little longer?
Yeah, we got more questions out there.
We got more for you.
Before we come back, I'm going to take a little nap in this chair.
Right?
It's comfy, isn't it?
It's sucking the life out of me.
This is the life, man.
We're here. For those of you that are watching on ESPN2,
wow,
we're here in the comfy chairs because there's some technological things going on over there.
Technological, yeah. There you go.
This is the good life, man.
The best of Mike and Mike.
All right, we roll on. Adam Schefter is with us. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic, and DJ Shefty Chef, as he's more commonly known. Adam,
I want to before we get to those, what's your best sports month?
Yeah.
This is easy, and I said it to you before we heard the answers.
Yeah.
In April, catchers and pitchers have reported.
Kickers and punters.
And they've gone through their calisthenics. And
they've run to first a bunch.
And they're ready for opening day. So you have opening day. You've
Although
got college
sometimes
basketball.
that is in March, but mostly it's in April. Yeah.
The Final Four weekend at the beginning of the month, usually.
Yes.
Usually. We've got the NFL draft, the preparation
Yeah, baby.
coming up. I love
Get ready,
that.
Dallas.
I love that.
We're coming.
And then
We've
NBA
got
and NHL playoffs.
NBA and NHL seasons coming to a finish, getting ready for the playoffs, and best of all, you have the weather to accompany it all and the hopes of all the warm days ahead. So to me, I'll go with April, although I love this week right now, sports-wise.
It is nice.
And Keith, again, the Masters is in April.
Yeah, Keith, we got a tweet from Keith who mentioned a lot of things in March that he
Which
liked.
are good.
He also mentioned the Masters. And the Masters are in April.
Is in April.
All right, let's go back onto the field. Teddy Bridgewater. This is like for things that rarely, you guys have the skinny on everything. What's up with Teddy Bridgewater?
Listen, he's making his way back, and
remarkable. Really.
It really is when you think about it. Because I can tell you this: there are people who thought he would never play in the NFL again. There are people, and I think my numbers may be up, but I remember a trainer telling me last year that there have been 18 of these knee injuries, and only like 3 players have come back.
Really?
Wow.
So whatever the actual numbers are, it gives you an idea that the odds were stacked against him, and yet here he is at practice. He's wearing a sleeve on his knee, going through practice. He's done some individual drills in the past, but really this is his first practice since August of 2016. And look, there are questions about when Sam Bradford's going to play again. I don't think the Vikings are counting on him at all.
Right.
So Case Keenum steps in.
Played pretty well.
And is kind of keeping the boat afloat there in Minnesota.
Literally the boat they have outside the facility.
Okay. He's keeping the boat afloat. Aaron Rodgers is gone. Matthew Stafford's banged up. Mitchell Trubisky's learning. The Vikings have about as stable a quarterback situation right now as just about anybody in that division.
It really is. And for people that don't remember, again, this was a non-contact injury at practice. And I had people telling me, I knew it was bad, Adam, and you
it was one of those, where were you when you found out that Teddy Bridgewater went down injuries? It really was.
They called EMT services to the field. I had people telling me that if that truck hadn't gotten there, that ambulance, he might have lost the leg. That's how bad the injury was. You knew it was bad when they because you have everything at the facility there that you need to treat an injury, except something so catastrophic, and nobody touched him. That was the weird thing.
In the 27 years that I've covered the NFL, I could only remember an ambulance showing up at training camp a couple of times.
Right.
When that happens, you know it's real, it's serious, and in this particular case, it was. And horrific injury for Teddy Bridgewater. And I'll tell you the other interesting thing about this is he's in the last year of his contract.
Yeah.
Didn't pick up the fifth-year option.
Would you understand why they would not do that?
Of course, I'm not faulting them. Yeah. All I'm saying to you is that it just creates another layer of intrigue because both Bridgewater and Bradford are in the last years of their contract. So a team that's taken every step that it could to shore up the quarterback position has a lot of questions going forward, short and long term.
And it's a guy that was playing well, had become the leader of this team, was so well-liked.
They love him.
He's one of those guys that even if you're not a Viking fan, you're
pulling
for him.
Absolutely.
Because of where he was going.
He is incredibly well-respected in that organization.
Absolutely is. How about a guy now, from the legal side of it, this is crazy what's going on, Zeke Elliott. He'll be on the field this weekend. How long will he possibly be on the field? Will it now turn back into a Tom Brady thing? I think we all, unless you've changed, I still think he's going to be suspended and serve it, but we just don't know when.
Yep. I would say this to you. The one certainty right now is he's going to play the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's going to play at San Francisco this Sunday. He's going to play at Washington next week. Then I think we move into a little bit of a murkier area, but I still think right now that the slides of legal justice have swung in his favor right now, and it won't surprise me if he's playing this year. Now, the other interesting part about this is the Cowboys are 2-3.
Yeah.
Are they better off at this point?
Well, he's admitted it's affected him a little bit.
Well, listen, it's going to be let's just say he gets through this year and he plays the full year, which I think is a distinct possibility at this point in time. And let's say he serves it next year. Really, the 6-game suspension will impact 2 years because it will hang over him and his team this entire year mentally, and then physically he'll be removed from the team for 6 games next year. So that's not an ideal scenario in the end, but that's what it is.
Well, I think it's like Brady. Eventually, you can fight it as long as you want, but eventually
you're serving the time.
It's a penalty delayed, not denied. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the fact
that's a very good way of saying it.
Well, thank you very much. I think that because of the way it played out with Brady, eventually goes against him too, because the precedent has been set in court. That look, I get all this, but unless there's some egregious flaw that you can say is so completely out of context, the CBA says you let him do this. So you gave him the power, and we're going to respect that.
But again, on that side, I still understand the union battling this.
Why wouldn't you? Absolutely.
Good job.
Yeah. It's exactly right. So you keep doing it really quickly, and I want it to be really quickly because it's my hometown team.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Kevin Hogan gets a start over Kaiser, got benched. Hogan's now third string. Cody Kessler, second string. Kaiser back to starter again. What in the wide world of sports is going on?
20 quarterback changes in the past 43 games.
Is that good?
Oh.
20 quarterback changes in the past 43 games for the Cleveland Browns. And we still don't even know who the quarterback of the future is. Cody Kessler's number 2 this week. They could say it's Kevin Hogan's ribs all they want. The fact of the matter is if Kevin Hogan had played well last week, do you think his ribs would prevent him from playing this week?
That's what flak jackets are for.
I don't think it would. So, again, more uncertainty. I don't know why they benched Kaiser in the first place. I don't know why they didn't draft Wentz in the first place. I don't know why they didn't draft Watson. It's the Cleveland Browns.
Well, look, we could go back to 2004 with quarterbacks they passed on, but let's just go the last 4 or 5 years. 2017, they took Deshaun Kaiser. They passed on Deshaun Watson. 2016, Cody Kessler. They could have had Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott. 2014, they took Johnny Manziel. They could have had Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. 2012, Brandon Weeden in the first round. They could have drafted Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins.
Passed on Dak Prescott 8 times last year.
Everybody did. My point is, this is what they do.